ORRAR and the Big Six.
Where's your mom, little one? Not another orphan. It's too much. Something needs to be done about this poaching problem, and fast.
Marnie, I know you're here because of your love for rhinos and desire to help them. Aren't you also doing graduate work?
Yes, I thought I would make the most of my summer off and not only help with the orphans, but also digest what I just learned.
Tell me about your program.
I just finished a course about critical issues in special education. Being around these orphans reminds me of being with my students and how each one has different needs and are at different places in their journey. So many components of the course pop up in my mind.
Now that Thomas is with the new orphan, I thought we would check on the others. Tell me about those components.
Well, there were 6 big ideas we focused on in the class. We first focused on the laws created to make education more inclusive for students with special needs, fueled by the history behind those laws.
I know all about laws coming about because of historical events. Our anti-poaching laws are meant to protect and preserve our rhino population, but they are very difficult to enforce.
Thankfully, the laws protecting the rights of special education students are supported and strictly followed in my school district. When I was learning about the creation of our education laws, especially the Individuals with Disabilities Act of 1975, or IDEA, children and families are protected by this law from birth, with access to special services. The U.S. went from excluding 1.8 million children from public education in 1975 to including more than 7.5 million children today. Amazing the power of the law.
From birth? Really? It sounds highly individualized. Each child can be so different, much like each rhino orphan requires individual care plans.
Our education system has safeguards in place for special education plans based on the need of each student. Some need more intensive services than others, but the goal is to be inclusive and provide equal access to public education for every child. No child left behind. That was big idea number 2, inclusive education.
We think of it as no rhino left behind.
Exactly. Unfortunately, equal access to public education wasn't the case until the Education for All Handicapped Children Act of 1975. That was a game changer.
1975, did you say? Around the same time the Wildlife Conservation and Management Act was established here in Kenya to protect our threatened species. The Kenya Wildlife Service was established in 1989 to take the work even further. Here at ORRAR, our goal is to give each rhino calf a chance at being part of a crash with other orphans and eventually released, or what we call rewilded, into a protected area. We want them to have access to all they would have had if they could have grown up with their moms.
When you first receive an orphan, I'm going to assume that you work with your team to create a care plan which will give that calf every chance of a normal life. The individual education plans, we call them IEPs, provide a structure for our special needs students to receive services to give them an equal education. We call them accommodations.
Is it difficult to meet these accommodations? What if you have multiple students with education plans?
I use a technique called universal design for learning. I look at the accommodations each student with an education plan has, then I design my lessons with those needs in mind. I have found that whatever I design for my special needs students actually benefits all of my students. There's also a lot of collaboration with other teachers and with guidance counselors. We have yearly meetings to fine-tune the education plans to meet any needs that may arise simply from growth. Something a student needed in 3rd grade may not be necessary in 6th grade, or it may need to be adjusted. The input from the parents is also extremely important.
Is that a big idea too? Universal design? You teach science, correct?
Yes, you guessed it. I think of myself as teaching not only science, but also technology, engineering, and math. We call it STEM. It is the focus of our future.
How do you teach all these things, STEM as you call it, and make it all inclusive? Sounds impossible.
Definitely challenging, but not impossible. Thankfully, I'm blessed to work with very knowledgeable teachers, and with support from our guidance counselors and administration, lessons become relatable and relevant. Collaboration was another big idea, especially how it relates to STEM.
Hi, Sophie. How are things going?
Hi, Marnie. Hi, Dr. O'Near. I'm about to get bottles and buckets ready for the evening feed. I could use all the help I can get.
Marnie's been telling me all about her graduate course.
Yes, I remember what you were talking about the other night about STEM for all, UDL, and inclusive education. I'm interested in what you'll take back from this experience to teach your students.
Students need to see the practical application of STEM in their lives. Besides, recognizing the STEM components in their everyday lives, students also need to be encouraged to be visionaries to where STEM can take them.
I'm sure you would agree, Dr. O'Near, that at times we feel like we will never be able to stop raising rhino orphans, and that poaching will continue until the only rhinos left will be in zoos. Do you think that through your teaching and by using this STEM for all approach that you can change our world?
That is my goal as a teacher, to affect my students and enlighten them about the world they live in. I show them how much I care, which I hope will plant the seed of mindfulness so that not only rhino poaching can stop, but also how they can actively participate through STEM activities. What are you doing in your classroom to ignite that passion?
Well, my students definitely know all about my love for rhinos. I have figurines and drawings all over my classroom, and I shared with my students my Conqueror's Challenge of walking Kruger National Park. They asked about my mileage every day.
You must use technology a lot to impact student learning in STEM.
Absolutely, and there is such amazing resources, and they seem to increase by the day. My professor had this amazing tag packer blog with I don't even know how many resources. I found Discovery VR 360, and my students loved being able to move the camera as they listened about rescuing and caring for rhinos. I think they were inspired to check out all the other virtual reality videos that were there.
Why don't we get these buckets and bottles out and we can talk some more on the way?
Let's go. How else have you used STEM in your classroom?
This is funny, but I arranged for a zookeeper to have a video conference in my classroom, and I really wanted a rhino keeper, but I ended up with a herpetologist instead. The kids loved it.
I wonder if there's a way we could do that here. Bring our orphans into the classroom, maybe even your classroom.
I don't see why it couldn't work. I think it's definitely worth a try. I'm especially interested in the upcoming surrogacy of the white northern rhino embryos. The thought that a species could be saved from the brink of disaster is such a worthy cause. You can't find a more STEM-focused project than that. You'll just have to come back every summer and keep us updated.
I can't think of a better way to spend my summer. You never know what will be popping in my head next year.
Just don't lose sight of the big ideas. You're influencing the generation that can save the rhinos and so much more.
No rhino left behind, right?